Hybrid vehicles operate differently to conventional cars. The early hybrids used to look quite different too. It was easy to spot them on the road because of their distinct appearance. But more and more, the latest generation of hybrids look like any other vehicle. And manufacturers are being clever here, offering a particular vehicle with a variety of different powertrains, from traditional internal combustion engines through to hybrid and fully electric. All with the purpose of making it easier for drivers to make steps along the road to electrification. It's only when you look under the bonnet of the hood that you start to notice a difference. Okay, I'm going to head over here now and talk to David, where we're going to take a closer look at the different types of hybrid on the market, how they operate, and what impact that has on the internal combustion engine part of the powertrain. Hybrids are a combination of an internal combustion engine, or ICE, an electric motor, or e-motor, and a battery. Hybrids tend to fall into one of four different types that feature a greater or lesser amount of hybridization, or use of the electric motor. The engine in a hybrid system only operates when required. In typical urban driving, this is only for short periods of time before shutting down and the e-motor taking over. This challenges engine oil in three key areas: increased contamination due to cooler engine temperatures, reduced performance and protection due to engine intermittency, and a reduction in the system efficiency due to the cooler running and lower oil temperatures. Why is this important? Well, the amount of hybridization plays a big part in how much time the ICE in a hybrid is running or not. Let's go over to David. David, what can you tell us about the different types of hybrid?
Let's start with the mild hybrid electric vehicle. This essentially has the same engine and transmission system as a conventional vehicle, but with the addition of a hybrid system made up of a motor generator that replaces the alternator and starter motor, a small battery, and the electronic control system that manages the hybrid operation. The advantage of the mild hybrid is the mild hybrid system provides a very rapid start-stop, but also can provide an instant torque power boost into the driveline system that essentially enhances the driving feel and provides fuel consumption benefits. The battery in a mild hybrid is charged through two routes. The first route is using the engine to generate electricity that is fed back into the battery when it is low, and the second one is using regen braking that essentially recovers energy that would otherwise been lost, further enhancing the fuel consumption. The electric motor isn't capable of moving the vehicle on its own. That is done purely by the engine with the previously mentioned power boost. What this does mean, though, that in most driving conditions, the engine itself is running, so therefore it's able to maintain a high oil temperature and rapid warm-up, which is obviously beneficial for the oil condition. Okay, so the next level of hybridization is the full hybrid electric vehicle. Again, the hybrid system is made up of a motor, a larger battery, and electronic control system. But what this does is it combines the engine and e-machine through a common transmission, which allows it to drive in different modes. For example, engine only, e-machine only, or a combination of the two. One of the main differences between the mild and full hybrid is that the full hybrid is able to operate at reasonable vehicle speeds for about 5 miles on electric motor only. So this is especially useful within urban environments where you are operating effectively with zero tailpipe emissions. With a full hybrid, for very short urban journeys, it's quite often the engine will not actually start. The whole journey can be done on electric power. When the journey is longer or higher speed, the engine can jump in to take over, obviously assisted where necessary by the electric motor. But what this does mean in terms of engine warm-up and engine temperature, quite often the oil warm-up can take longer, but also the temperature generally can be lower than in a conventional engine. So obviously one of the concerns there would be that with the slower warm-up and generally lower oil temperature, we are running the risk of oil contaminants such as water or fuel in oil, which obviously has a detrimental effect. Okay, so moving on to the next hybrid, which is the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. The main difference between the plug-in hybrid and the full hybrid is the fact that you're able to plug the electrical system into an external electrical source in order to charge the battery. So again, the plug-in hybrid uses the higher powered motors, but the biggest difference also is the ability of a plug-in hybrid to run longer distances, typically 20 to 50 miles on a full charge, mainly because the battery on the plug-in hybrid tends to be much larger than on the full hybrid electric vehicle. The plug-in hybrid is actually a very versatile vehicle in terms of the types of journeys you can undertake. So being able to run up to 50 miles on electric motor only is very useful for urban environments and extended inner city driving, with the obvious benefits in terms of the zero tailpipe emissions as well. But also out of the city for the longer journeys, obviously retaining the internal combustion engine, it's good because you don't have the obvious range anxiety that you would have with a full electric vehicle. The final hybrid type is the range extended electric vehicle. Now, this is a little bit of an anomaly in that really what it is an electric vehicle with a small internal combustion engine that is connected directly to a generator that provides the ability to charge the battery. However, this only normally happens when the battery state of charge drops below 30%, and it can extend the range by maybe 50 to 80 miles. And again, one of the big differences between the full and plug-in hybrids is that for a range extender, the electric motor is the only means of actual direct propulsion of the vehicle. So the range extender engine is only used for charging the battery. What this also means that for a majority of the driving, the engine won't be used, but also when it is used, it tends to be used at very high load, so it does rapid warm-up and maintains a consistent high temperature for the oil.
Wow, that's a great overview, David. Thank you very much. I'm now going to head over here and talk to Wajid, who's going to give us some really fascinating insights into the adoption of hybrids around the world. So Wajid, what have you got to tell us?
Well, it certainly varies by region. So let's take a look at how the different types of hybrids have been adopted around the world. We'll start with Asia Pacific, which dominates the global automotive industry in terms of both sales and production. Rising concerns about air quality and environmental sustainability have led governments in countries such as China and India to implement policies and incentives for hybrid vehicles, helping to drive their adoption. Chinese policymakers recognize the importance of promoting hybrid technology as part of a broader strategy to enhance energy security and reduce the country's dependence on imported oil. Recent headwinds for battery electric vehicle adoption have emphasized the critical role that hybrids can play in the drive to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. There has been a surge in plug-in hybrids and range-extended electric vehicle adoption, where consumer sentiment has been a key driving factor. This has likely been a contributing reason why the combined hybrid share surpassed the battery electric vehicle sales in 2024. S&P Global expects that the hybrid domination in mainland China will continue until the end of the decade. In India, the hybrid car market demand is supported by increased availability and growth of its charging infrastructure and supportive government policies for electric mobility, both hybrid and fully electric vehicles. Hybrid sales only account, though, for 1% of the market in the past 12 months. Yet S&P Global projects that the local production will reach over 35% by 2035, becoming the dominant propulsion type. Considering the region as a whole, the most popular type of hybrid vehicle is the plug-in hybrid, with 8% of market share. What do you think is the most popular hybrid brand in this region?
Gosh, that's a really tough question because that's a big old region to consider. But I think Chinese OEMs have got to be in the mix. I would say BYD because they're a big player in the hybrid space. Also maybe SIAC because they do a lot of hybrid taxis, so that could be one. And thinking about the region more broadly, I think Hyundai could be in the mix as well.
Well, you're spot on with your first answer there. And in fact, the most popular plug-in hybrid in the region in Asia Pacific is the BYD Chin Plus. And BYD actually takes the top 3 positions for plug-in hybrids. Range extended EVs are relatively new to the market, and the top model there is the Ito M7, which features a 1.5-litre 4-cylinder gas engine. Full hybrid vehicles account for almost 4% of new registrations, where the Toyota Sienna takes first place. Mild hybrids in this region are actually dominated by European OEMs, and interestingly, this is led by Mercedes-Benz, and they take all 3 top spaces in the region. However, trends in Asia Pacific are dominated by the trends in mainland China. Whereas in South Korea, full hybrids are the most popular hybrid type, with over 20% of market share. There's also a very high export share coming from South Korea and Japan, where it's highlighted by the fact that local production of plug-in hybrids is over 300,000 vehicles, whereas registrations are fewer than 10,000, highlighting the exports from that region. Moving on to the Americas, similar to the Asia Pacific, hybrid adoption is supported by government incentives and regulations. In the United States, federal and state-level incentives such as tax credits, rebates, and access to carpool lanes have encouraged customers to make the switch to hybrids. Regulatory measures aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and increasing fuel efficiency standards are driving manufacturers to produce hybrid models and invest in hybrid technology. In Latin America, again, there are economic incentives, but the market is also driven by the cost savings associated with owning a hybrid. Providing better fuel efficiency and less frequent maintenance can result in a lower total cost of ownership across the vehicle's lifespan. Some countries also offer additional financial benefits, such as reduced registration fees or toll exemptions, further enhancing their affordability. The most popular type of hybrid vehicle in this region is the full hybrid, with just over 7% of market share. So Chris, let's test your knowledge again, right? What do you think is the most popular hybrid brand in the Americas?
Okay, I'm going to hedge my bets again. So I think Ford could be there, big OEM in the Americas. Toyota, they have to be in the mix. They're a big hybrid player and very popular vehicle in the Americas as well. And maybe also, I'm going to go Hyundai again, because they're also pretty popular in the Americas.
Those are very educated guesses, and yeah, you've got it in one of those. It's Toyota, right? So Toyota is definitely the dominant brand for hybrid types in the Americas, whereas for plug-in hybrids, it's still a growing market. It only currently accounts for 2% of new registrations, and first place goes to the Jeep Wrangler. So some of the local OEMs supplying for demand here. Charging infrastructure in the US lags slightly behind mainland China and Europe, which could really support the idea of plug-in hybrids and range-extended EVs, because that also allows you to have an electric-only drive, but also alleviates the range anxiety that's associated with BEVs. Domestic OEMs are likely to revise their long-term planning to actually reduce their battery electric vehicle outlook in favor of plug-in hybrids and range-extended vehicles. Mild hybrids actually account for a larger share, which is about 3% of vehicle sales, and is topped by a pickup truck for the first time in our list, the Ram 1500. Range extenders, not really yet to materialize in the Americas, but they certainly have scope in the long term, thinking about overall greenhouse gas reduction and consumer requirements in the Americas. Finally, let's take a look at the European hybrid car market. The market is expected to see significant growth as governments implement stringent CO2 targets and emission standards. The Fit for 55 package in the EU demands significant greenhouse gas or CO2 emission reduction. That's a 55% reduction for passenger cars in 2030, an average of 49.5 grams per kilometre. And this really does limit the long-term outlook for mild and full hybrid vehicles, as the average CO2 of these hybrid types is much higher. However, there is still a key role for all hybrid types to assume in an OEM CO2 compliance strategy. To meet these stricter requirements and to avoid heavy financial penalties, manufacturers must accelerate their development and production of hybrids and EVs. For example, in the UK, initiatives such as the ultra-low emission zones in London, the ULEZ, and the clear air zones in other cities have incentivized the transition to hybrid and electric vehicles. The most popular type of hybrid vehicle in this region is the mild hybrid, with almost 10% of the market share. So again, we're going to test your knowledge base here, Chris. What do you think is the most popular hybrid brand in Europe?
Oh gosh, Roger, you really are testing me today. So I would say Volkswagen, big player in Europe, so I think they might be in there. Maybe also Renault, they've got a few hybrids out. And I've got to go with Toyota again because they're popular in Europe and big player in hybrids.
You're right again, Toyota is the top brand for hybrid vehicles in Europe. But the most popular hybrid type is in fact a mild hybrid, and the top model is in fact a Ford Puma. 48-volt mild hybrids were once expected to become ubiquitous in Europe, really displacing ICE stop-start engines. At a lower cost and incremental fuel efficiency improvements, around 10 to 15% over stop-start, it does continue to grow, but it really isn't sufficient for the long-term CO2 targets in Europe. For full hybrids, it is no surprise that Toyota takes the top 3 spots, with the Yaris Cross at number 1. Full hybrids account for almost 8% of new registrations in Europe, and this has historically been dominated by Asian OEMs. However, Renault has brought a low-cost full hybrid system that is proving popular and accounts for almost 15% of the total full hybrid market. Plug-in hybrid vehicles account for almost 5% of new registrations, where the Volvo XC60 takes first place. Plug-in hybrids have faced reduced incentives on both the regulatory and the consumer side. Hence, its market share has fallen since 2021-2022. European regulators classify range-extended hybrids in the same category as a plug-in hybrid. The Mazda MX-30 is the top model in the market. Asian OEMs are more likely to address any market demand for range extenders than domestic ones, unless there is a significant update to the regulatory framework.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Waji. So there we have it. Hybrid adoption around the globe is likely to continue to accelerate as governments encourage manufacturers and consumers to make increasingly environmentally conscious choices.